People who lived out your sexual fantasies and regretted it. What happened?
Experience 1. Nuru Gel. I'd found some Soapland videos back in the early days of the internet and was fascinated. When I found myself in a relationship, time to bust this bucket list item outright. This was still early enough that it wasn't on sale at every adult store, so I ended up ordering the powder off a janky-looking website and waiting about a month and a half for shipping from Japan. The first problem, the air mattress wouldn't fit in our bathroom, so ended up setting it up in the spare bedroom on top of the tarps. Then you have to run from the bathroom to the bedroom dripping wet since it's recommended you be damp to start. The massage bit and foreplay actually are fun. That crap is slick, so you can easily give a really good massage, and during oral it's fun to be able to just slide around. The problem comes when you want to get to the actual intercourse. With no close walls, you got no traction. That crap is slick. At one point the girl shot out from under me like a champagne cork. Every time you thrust, she slides away. You try to find a foot purchase, but you've been slinging that ish all around, so the tarp is like a banana peel minefield. As the gel distraction starts to get sticky, so now you've got some traction and the freaking begins, but once you start sweating cork time again. You give up on the air mattress and go to rinse this off so you can just have intercourse. Ever tried and take a shower covered head to foot in lube and been sexually frustrated? You think you got all, try to have a little shower intercourse, but end up in the tub as a tangled mess. Then you've got to clean up. That ish just absorbs water, so you're rinsing and rinsing and rinsing the tarp and air mattress. You have to walk of shame them downstairs to the clothesline so they can dry. Not enough room in an apartment to dry a tarp and an air mattress. Your neighbors will not know exactly what you got up to, but they know you were up to something that needed a tarp and a second bed. You are now those people. Experience 2. I had a femdom or ball busting or beatdown fantasy. Once I ended up at a strip club one night for a friend's birthday, and I worked up the courage to tell a stripper in a private booth. She enthusiastically accepted and beat the crap out of me in a very humiliating way. The pain lasted for days after. I knew I messed up when she grabbed my balls, and I had to beg repeatedly for her to let go and had no idea if she would. Somehow, I made it through the whole dance and received a hug and smile in the end. I won't hold it against her, it was exactly what I asked for. It was a good lesson to always use a safe word and not play with strangers or untrained people. Never ask an untrained person to do this. Experience 3. I hooked up with a MILF once. It's true what they say about older women and experience, because this woman was practically breakdancing on my D. She could have been in Cirque du Soleil, or at least the Spider-Man musical. What I wasn't ready for was the next day when her son, who looked like he was about 2 years younger than I was, sauntered into the kitchen while I was eating breakfast. I had to sit across from him while she tried to encourage us to get to know each other. I will never get the
"Oh, she made you waffles. She never makes me waffles"
look of disdain out of my head. Edit 1. I posted this 9 hours into a thread. Now my most upvoted post starts with the words, "I hooked up with a MILF once," so I'm officially folding this post into that regret. Experience 4. My boyfriend at the time asked for me to screw his butt and, in addition, wanted me to eat his butt beforehand. Second my tongue hit the runway, he yelped and said, I'm not clean. Very quickly did we realize that was a no-go for his germophobic butt. Experience 5. Girlfriend and I were barely in our 20s when she asked after a drunken night out if I would be up for a threesome with her and one of my friends who I knew my early teens, 2 guys and 1 girl. Stupidly, I drunkenly agreed if he was up for it. He said yes, but little eager. A week or so later, we went out together and had a few drinks where she pretty much threw herself at both of us, making it clear to anyone around that she was getting double D'd, which embarrassed the hell out of both me and my friend. We got her home and both me and him were having cold feet when she threw herself at us again and begged us to just try it out. Long story short, turns out her fantasy was to feel 2 Ds in her midsection at the same time, which even though we were wearing protection, was just a step too far, I know. Was already seeing the guy's deed, but crossing swords was a red line neither of us wanted to cross. I became incredibly shy. Just nothing was happening no matter what she did to try to get me hard. Then she kind of abandoned me to try it on with my friend, who backed out instantly. Me and my friend left and shared a taxi to different friends' houses to crash out and sleep off the drink. I and her broke up days later. Was too much, and she admitted having feelings for my friend and hinted at wanting an open relationship to try it out with him, but neither of us, me or my friend, wanted that. Experience 6. The girlfriend at the time and her friend decided they wanted to have a threesome. It was just me having intercourse with one of them until I asked them to switch out. Went on like that for a while. I imagine it's more fun when everyone is actually involved the whole time, not just a third person sitting off to the side waiting for their turn. Experience 7. My friend's hot older sister has a lesbian wife, and they'd always make threesome jokes with me around. Long story short, one day we all went out, got drunk, wound up back at their place, and the sister pulled me into her room, and we started hooking up. I was under the impression it was all consensual and the wife would be into it and join in. Instead, she walked in and freaked out, and I had to take full blame in order to protect their marriage. The sister went publicly sober a month later with a new sobriety Instagram page, and I haven't talked to them since. Experience 8. Definitely way more boring than the other stories, but when I finally hooked up with my childhood crush after over a decade of us having a sitcom-like relationship, we hooked up in that post, but clarity hit like a train. The intercourse wasn't great. She was very clearly just using me to get over her ex. She probably only liked me in between dating other guys our entire history together, and afterwards, it was clear that she didn't care about the intercourse at all. I did all the work, she starfished the entire time, and she left immediately after. It was soul-crushing, but I'm glad it snapped me out of whatever trance I was in. Edit: since this is my most liked comment, I guess I should add that there was no post-nut clarity because I never finished. She brought up her intercourse tape with her ex, my soldier wasn't standing tall, and then she subtly blamed me for the bad experience. Experience 9. I feel you, my dude. I had long fantasized about my stepbrother's ex-girlfriend, but it was something that was never going to happen until it did. I came home to visit. I had moved out of state and went to the bar with some friends. I saw her there, dancing and drinking. I said hi but went on about my night. She calls me at about 1:45, bars close at 1, asking me if I want to come to a party at her place. Sure, why not? I walk to her house and go inside, and she is the only person there. The lights are dim, and the music is on. I knew we were going to screw, and I was so excited. She let me go down on her, which has always been at the top of my fantasy, and she tasted great, but that's where the fun ended. Once we started having intercourse, she literally just laid there. Did touch me but didn't make a sound, just lay there. I asked if she was right and she said yes, don't stop. I tried to change positions, but she wasn't into it. I was no longer enjoying this, and my guy just gave up. So, I got off of her, laid there for a few minutes, and then got to leave. I had my pants halfway on when she rolled over, says no, please stay, and threw up all over my pants. I stayed the night, due to a lack of pants, and when I woke up in the morning, she was staring at me. I asked if everything was okay, and she said, "Did we have intercourse?" My heart stopped and my mind started racing. I was terrified of what was about to come next and also wondered how I could have been so dumb. I was drunk. I said yes and apologized. I got up and told her I would leave. She asked me to stay and said she wanted to discuss this. She ultimately said she wanted to have intercourse with me but blacked out shortly after I got there. She asked if I wanted to try again, but between the hangover and fear, I could not perform. We are still friends to this day, but I can never look at her the same way again. Experience 10. Saw an explicit video of a construction worker, I'm into construction workers LOL, banging his girl in the back seat of his work truck on his lunch break. It was so hot I wanted to recreate it. My husband is in construction and happened to be working across the street from my job, so I asked him to come screw me on my lunch break. He shows up and we get to it. It smells so bad because it was hot and he had been sweating all day. The truck was bouncing around and we were in a busy parking lot, so I'm sure people noticed. On top of that, I had to walk back into work with jizz leaking through my pants. 10 out of 10 would not do again. Experience 11. In my early 20s, still in college, I banged the woman who was my 5th grade math teacher. She was coming into town for a Royals game, and she hit me up on Facebook. We went out for drinks, got drunk, and had intercourse in my college apartment. It happened a few more times. My mom still worked at the school with her, and somehow my mom found out. They had to continue to work closely together, but they were certainly no longer friends. Experience 12. One time I was on a Tinder date and the fine young lady offered me a BJ on the ride home. A guy in a tricked out Honda brake checked me, and she not only bit my D, but also, since she was playing with my balls, squeezed them so hard that for the briefest of moments, I became a squeaky toy. Experience 13. Early 20s and I had a sexy granny fetish. Went to a Chinese restaurant with a bar that had a reputation as being a pickup joint for 50/60/70-year-olds. Went to the bar with a few friends for kicks and giggles and started chatting up ladies. I settle in on this older lady wearing a white leather suit, pants, vest, and jacket. Her boobas were selling out and she looked good. Lights were low, so it made her features softer. We decided to leave and go back to her place for some fun. We hop in her car and head out. We get to her place, and with real lights you can see she's much older than I thought she was and rougher looking too. I'm here and say, well, her body is good, so I can get through this. We go to the bedroom, and she goes to the bathroom to freshen up. Sue some out naked, and OMG. The loose skin, it was sagging and wrinkled. Then the bush, it was huge. She probably had not trimmed it in years. I could go on, but you can see where I'm going. I still have intercourse with her, and it was gross. The worst part was he talking dirty in a granny voice. Since she drove me there, I was basically trapped. I should have called a cab, but I was broke. I stayed the night, and we smashed a couple more times, at her insistence. She was actually really good at oral, and me being 21, it was no problem getting me up again. Eventually, she got tired and fell asleep. Woke up, she made me breakfast. Then I hopped in the shower, and she came in and we had intercourse again. She then said she would drive me home. As I got dropped off, my mother came out and saw me get out of the car. The worst was the lady saying and my mom hearing her thank me for the fun time. My mom didn't bring it up, but didn't talk to me for a few days and had a super disgusted look on her face for a few days. Edit, I do not remember the specifics of the breakfast, but it was really good, and she made percolated coffee, which was great. Edit, this took place in 1990. The lady is probably not with us anymore. Experience 14. I went to a swingers club thinking I was in for a night of casual intercourse and fun. They often say that on explicit video sets, everything looks great, but you're not there to smell it. What greeted me when I got in the door can only be described as the aroma of King Kong's crotch. There was a roughly even mix of women and men. The age group varied between probably early to mid-30s to late 60s and early 70s. I wasn't quite prepared for either the geriatric male or female form engaging in sexual activity. I mean, no disrespect to older readers, but it is not pretty. Maybe it's something you get used to, I don't know. But to my fresh young eyes at the young age of 23, it is an image forever seared into my memory. They had opened a new hot tub that night, which promptly sprang a leak in the roof over the dance floor due to the proverbial motion of the ocean caused by the senior orgy which was taking place within. One could engage or merely watch the spectacle of debauchery and not engage. I chose the latter and remained fully clothed, somewhat stunned. I was encouraged by a 60-something who pressed her naked boobas upon my butt and fondled my package gingerly. She whispered in my ear,
Oh, look at what we have here. Some fresh meat. My friends would love to meet you.
I politely declined and made a beeline for the rear kitchen, a small room where partygoers could take a breather, make a cup of tea, and chat about their experiences. It was flanked by a large bed made up of several mattresses laid side by side, thus also serving as a kind of orgiastic party room, a kind of curtained temple of Sodom and Gomorrah. I sat gingerly on a leather couch and was soon joined by a gentleman who had come there with his wife. The man was also fully clothed and, I suppose, sought some reprieve and comfort in the fact that I was one of his few fully clothed comrades. He proceeded to tell me that his wife was who began the interest in the club. He said he was free to engage in the fun and frolics she had permitted him, but that he rarely engaged but got off on her sexual satisfaction administered via another man's D. As I sat and drank my tea, a sort of shuffling had been taking place behind us in the orgiastic high temple. The soft sounds of a large, robust man, with what I can only describe as the hairiest but whole I had ever borne witness to, was now bobbing it up and down, going hammer and tongs on a woman who was seemingly enjoying herself thoroughly. I was somewhat put out at how close I was in the vicinity of such a sensual act, and the absurdity of me sitting there, fully clothed, enjoying a cup of tea and a chalky bicky was not lost on me. Upon turning my head out of morbid curiosity at the many carnal sounds now emerging from the adjoining love pit as they clearly began to reach their orgasms, the gentleman proceeded to inform me that the sounds I was now hearing were indeed those of his wife. We had been sat there, drinking tea, discussing the subjects of the day, all the while his wife was getting plowed into the middle of next week by a man with the physical build of a pickup truck. I decided after that to retreat outside to the smoking area. I don't smoke usually, but found that the state of my nerves had warranted a drag. I borrowed a cigarette from a large woman, about 5 foot tall. She was pleasant, fully clothed, and seemed to empathize with my apparent deer in headlights demeanor. She offered to brighten the evening up with a BJ, to induct me into this hall of filth. I decided that having come this far, I might as well, and took her up on her kind offer. We went into a room, a sort of small cabin really at a height. It couldn't have been that large, just big enough for 2 people, and the inside was lined with mirrors and a leather mattress. She unbuckled my belt and proceeded to give me what would have been an outstanding performance had it not been for the many male spectators, some erect, some flaccid, one stroking and one female spectator that had now gathered around the cabin. This was apparently the observation box. One was only brought in here to be seen. After a solid 20 minutes worth of workout, I unfortunately found that the mental pressure of it all was too much. Alas, despite my companion's stellar efforts, my junk would simply not work. The entire experience gave me a renewed appreciation of adult stars and the mental gymnastics they must have to go through to perform, stay aroused, look sexy, and be convincing, whilst also being surrounded by blokes who are all probably clothed and who are watching your performance with intensity. I applaud anyone who can maintain an erection amongst that sensory smorgasbord. Alas, I discovered that swinging was most certainly not for me.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.